What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Chrysalineous anime review. Today we are going to be talking about one of the fan favorites, Yu Yu Hakusho. We got Mr. Yusuke Yurameshi himself with us. He's just going to be chilling out back here. He's got his little spirit gun pose. If you have not seen Yu Yu Hakusho, I want to recommend this show. I couldn't recommend it more highly. It is a great show. It was made in the 90s. Well, the story itself was made in the 90s, which is a huge part of one thing I love about this show is the art style. And obviously it's a manga adaptation or an anime adaptation of a pre-existing manga. But some of those early 90s manga that get translated into anime adaptations have some of the best artwork in anime. And obviously there's a bunch of exceptions everywhere, but this is a great show and kind of shows that as well. So this show has 112 episodes, and it's pretty short for an anime, so it's super easy to get through, but every episode is amazing. I really had a great time watching this when I was younger, and then I was watching anime before I could even put together plot points of stories and things like that. But I recently rewatched it, and it was even better than I remember. So I would recommend it. It is created by Yoshihiro Togashi, I believe his name is. So sorry if I butchered that at all. When he was working with Shonen Jump to create their weekly comic book manga stories for that magazine. This guy is also the creator of Hunter x Hunter. So if you've seen that show and you haven't seen Yu Yu Hakusho, there's a good chance you're going to like Yu Yu Hakusho. And there's a lot of really good similarities. You can see the main character, I think his name is Gon from Hunter x Hunter, wears a similar kind of outfit to what Yusuke wears in a lot of the show. Anyway, this show, the manga actually stopped earlier than the story intended for it, because the creator was feeling a lot of stress, physical and emotional drain, trying to get a new story ready every single week for Shonen Jump magazine, and kind of keep his story developing the way he wanted it to go. So he ended up cutting it a little bit earlier, so that's why it seems like it ends kind of abruptly. I do believe they actually have a movie for Yu Yu Hakusho as well, but we're not here to talk about that. So let's start with the plot and kind of what the whole point of this show is, right? So our main character is Mr. Yusuke Yurameshi back here. He's a teenager, and he's kind of like a stereotypical almost gang member. I feel like he was trying to be portrayed as a gang kid, but he's not. He kind of just does his own thing and doesn't care about school and doesn't have many friends, but he does his own thing, so it doesn't bother him. And that being said, he also seems to really care about people and that kind of thing. So we see a little bit of that throughout it. But the story is, we start the show with Yusuke Yurameshi kind of getting introduced to his family, his friends, what his life is like. And eventually what happens is there's a kid in front of him somewhere that jumps. They were playing with a ball, like a bouncy ball, and it bounced into the street, and the kid ran into the street to go get the ball without looking. So Yusuke nosedived like a hero in front of the car, pushing the kid, and he saved the kid's life, but he died in the process. So this is a really weird way to open up a show, with the main character dying, but that's what ended up happening. And he goes to the afterlife, and basically he finds out that there's a way for him to get his life back, and they need help because there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. Yusuke at this point figures out that there's the existence of things like monsters and demons and different races, which is something he was never familiarized with before. And so he works with some of the people in the afterlife. One of them is a Reaper. One of them is King Yanma. Anyway, he works with them as what they call a spirit detective, which is part of the name of the show. And he basically goes and investigates demonic crimes or crimes targeting human souls, that kind of thing. And it's great. It puts him on a couple different adventures, and he eventually learns that he has spirit energy, and spirit energy exists in the world, and he's able to manifest that energy into our commonly known like shonen attacks. His trademark move is the spirit gun, where he basically channels all his spirit energy into a little orb, and he shoots it like a gun. That's why he's doing that pose on the pop. So that's already a very interesting premise, and with the main character dying in the first couple episodes, that automatically like kind of catches your eye, and then you figure out there's a lot more, and then there's even more after that. It just never stops coming. So that's why I'm really disappointed that this story didn't get to continue any further, because I know it would have been amazing. They hit some really good stuff at the very end that could have went any number of ways, but unfortunately it didn't go like that. So let's talk about some of the other characters in the show, now that we've talked a little bit about what the plot is. Main character is Yusuke Yurameshi. We follow him around most of the time, and he's the spirit detective. When some of his problems start getting a little bit bigger than what he can handle, eventually he finds out that someone he went to class with actually also has some sort of manifestation of spirit energy, even though they're still alive. This guy is Kuwabara. Kuwabara, he's got like a orange corn cob for hair. Very cool stuff. And he can manifest a spirit sword. So it's pretty epic, to be honest. But Kuwabara used to be Yusuke's bully for a while. So it really adds an interesting dynamic, because they start as like just students going to the same school, and Kuwabara is beating up on Yusuke a lot. Sometimes I guess Yusuke would win. I don't know. Anyway, once Kuwabara finally discovers his spirit energy and Yusuke talks to him a little bit, they become kind of like, not exactly friends, but like rivals to a certain degree. He needs Kuwabara's help with something. I forget what the first part that Kuwabara joined in on was, but the dynamic between those two is really good, because they started off as kind of bully and victim, and then became partners pretty much. And then that partnership throughout the spirit detective trials got them more into a friendship, and they were really close. So that's very interesting. And Kuwabara is like an awesome character. He's kind of annoying to listen to. If you guys watch the anime, you'll know what I mean. But he's so funny, and he's like such an idiot, but he's also like a big-hearted idiot, which is super weird, because both of them were like Street Fighter kind of guys. You know what I mean? So gotta love that, absolutely. And then the other ones we have that's part of the main gang is Kirama, who is dope, and he has the ability to kind of use like this rose whip. You can see, I don't have a pop for Kuwabara, so, but this is Kirama. He has this rose vine whip thing. He's a very elegant character. I wouldn't be surprised if you watched this at first and thought he was a girl, but he is a boy, and he's actually very powerful. Before he gets introduced as a villain, and Yusuke and Kuwabara have to go defeat him, and I think he stole something that they had to retrieve, actually. And it's crazy because he gets hyped up, right? We know a little bit about Kirama in the background before we actually meet him, and he's made out to be an absolute powerhouse, which he totally is. But to test as a testament to Yusuke and Kuwabara's friendship and teamwork, they were able to hold their own against him. And this is a unique character too, because I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but he has a different form, he has a big history, and he's half demon. So he looks like a normal guy, and he's very polite and very, I guess you would say, more formal than polite. But on top of that, we have Hiei, who is also a dramatic character. He's a great character. This is a Hot Topic exclusive, by the way. And his main weapon is the Black Dragon Fist that he has, which is kind of like a sacred move that he's not really supposed to use too often. He has to practice it. But he's also just like a samurai style. He normally uses a sword, and he's really good in combat. He's also got this third eye, which I guess is kind of, it's not the original thing, but it's copied from something in the show, and they go more into details. But this kind of helps him transform into another demon form and gives him some additional insight in combat. Like I said, I don't want to go too much into detail to give too much away, but he is probably one of the best characters, in my opinion. He is pretty dope. So those are our four main protagonists. Obviously, like I said, we follow Yusuke Yurameshi around while he gets introduced to these other characters, and eventually they defeat Kirama and Hiei, and I think it's King Yanma who tells them that there's a big problem in the afterlife, and they don't know how they're going to fix it, and they need help. Like a bigger problem, when the series starts and we're getting introduced to Hiei and Kirama, we're told that they're a really big deal, it's a huge problem, and they need to be stopped. And then shortly after, we find out that there's a bigger problem going on in the spirit world that needs to be investigated, and Yusuke won't be able to handle it himself. So with that being said, they end up offering, after defeating these two guys, they get Yanma to kind of give them, I keep saying Yanma, and I don't think that's it. They get the King of the Afterlife, the King of the Afterlife's kid, to offer them a deal, because these two are captured and basically being held captive because they're prisoners and they've broken these spirit laws, things like that. Eventually the story progresses and the stakes get a lot higher. So they need to come together as a team to start investigating some more of these bigger, stronger demons. They need to go through some training. And Yusuke is kind of like the big shot who things always happen to work out for. And shortly after teaming up with Hiei and Kirama, he figures out that he needs to work on getting stronger. You know, he's not facing the same school bullies he was used to. He's doing different things, and these demons have been around a lot longer than him training. So he goes and gets some additional training. We see some training arcs for all of the characters, as there's a big tournament that they're all a part of, and some bigger villains that come by as they kind of progress throughout this adventure. So we see some really cool stuff happen once they figure out how to really maximize their spirit energy, which is more a problem for Yusuke and Kuwabara. But once they get it, it's very cool. They get some different abilities, and we get to see Yusuke's relationship with a mentor who is legendary, teaches him some excellent techniques. Anyway, this story really is good. I love the artwork of this so much. I can't go on and I can't go on enough about how great this looks. Even if you read the manga of Yu Yu Hakusho, it looks fantastic. So that's one thing you'll really enjoy if you choose to watch this show. On top of that, I think the characters interact really well. They're all unique and different and have their own kind of role, and also their own like personality and behavior. They're similar in some ways, but you can't say that these characters aren't unique. So I'd really recommend watching Yu Yu Hakusho. It was a great show while I was watching it when I was younger, and when I went back and rewatched it, I loved it even more. So go check out that show, and if you haven't, or if you have already checked it out, let me know in the comments what you think about Yu Yu Hakusho is and who your favorite character is. If you're new to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe, and I will check you guys out in the next video.